Hello, you lovely people. Welcome back to another video. Today is a book-related video, but I kind of definitely stole this idea from Steph and Larry Reads. They did a collab. Literally, it came out today. That's why I got inspired. But they did a collab like answering like book-related questions. They did like a questions on their like a where you can like ask a question on their Instagram or whatever, and then they both did videos on their respective channels, and then like they talked about it together and did like a cute little collab. And when I was watching it, I was like, that sounds so fun. This was such a fun video. I want to answer these questions and I want to collab with them. So I'm doing this as kind of a manifestation fake collaboration with them. So completely every single question in this video is from one of their respective videos. I will tag both their videos below in their profiles. Definitely go give their videos watches and everything. But yeah, definitely the credit is to them. But I wanted, well, first off, they asked their viewers, and I don't have many viewers yet, so I don't really have people to ask to like insert questions in for me. And then also, like I said, like I wanted it to be kind of like a collab with them, like, you know, like a response with them. And I have different answers and different ideas and stuff, so I just thought it would be kind of fun. But yeah. Okay, the first question we're gonna do is, if you had to write a book, what trope would it be? Which, this is so hard. Fun fact, have tried to write a romance novel before. It's very much something that like interests me. I've never written anything like that before. But also I really like writing, and I don't want to say that I think I'm really good or anything like that, but I think it would be fun. I tried once, and I don't really think I thought I thought it out very well, but I really didn't. But I would say the tropes that I did then were kind of um, like shy guy, and it was like grumpy sunshine, um, and it was in college, and I'm trying to think of like other things. I guess it was like friend group, and I guess in my head too, in this fictional book that I would have written, it would be like a multi-series. Like I had set up kind of another couple too that was in like the same friend group. But yeah, I only wrote a couple of chapters of that, but I think now if I wrote one, I think I would want to do a sports romance. I don't know why. I just feel like I've been really reading and enjoying a lot of sports romances lately. I've always loved sports romances, but I feel like I've really been enjoying them. And I would want to do a sport that like isn't brought up as much. Like, I don't know, like I feel like there's a lot of football and hockey romances, but I feel like I always crave like other ones sometimes. So I don't know what sport it would be, but I think maybe a sports romance. And then I definitely want to do like I would want to do like multiple books where it's like the interconnected characters, because that's like my favorite thing of all time. Grumpy Sunshine, I think, would be what I would try to attempt, but that also seems really hard. So I don't know if I would really succeed in that, but I think that's the trope I would try to do. Okay, the next question is, what's an old 5-star that you think you wouldn't like it if you read it now? Which I was kind of like struggling to answer this, because I'm very picky about my 5 stars. I'm honestly pretty generous to like most books in the grand scheme of things, but 5 stars takes me kind of a lot to give it 5 stars. Like I have to love that book. And then I literally went to Storygraph to show, like, look at all of my 5 stars from since I've used Storygraph, and there's literally 5 books, which that's been 2 years. So shows you a little bit of how I am picky about it. But fun fact, actually my first ever YouTube video was about my 5-star reads of 2021 and some 4-star reads. So I actually went back to that video and I was like, what did I say? Like, do I agree or disagree with those now? Like, what was the vibe? Honestly, agreed with most of my takes still, so that's kind of good. And the only one that I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know if I read it, maybe now I wouldn't like it as much. I wouldn't go as far to say I wouldn't like it. I just think I would be, maybe not give it 5 stars, is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. I gave it 5 stars back in the day, and even then I was kind of like, I don't know, like if this should be 5 stars or 4 stars or what's the vibe, but I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm pickier now about my 5 stars, and I probably would not give it 5 stars, but again, I still think I would really like it. It just wouldn't reach the ultimatum of 5 stars that very few books get from me, but I still think I would really enjoy rereading it. And honestly, it's making me want to reread it because I actually have that in physical book, which I don't have a lot of physical books because I read almost everything on my phone or my Kindle. So maybe I should bring that on vacation. Maybe I'll do that. Like maybe like a little reread moment in my future. I feel like that could be kind of fun. The next is, what is your favorite Mariana Zapata book? So easy to me. It is. You can put your guesses down below. It's Colty. If you've watched like any of my videos, I talk about, I mean, Mariana Zapata in general is just like otherworldly amazing. If you've never read a Mariana Zapata book, watch the rest of this video and then get one of her books because you will be changed. It is the best Grumpy Sunshine author ever in the world. It's so amazing. It's so fun. Keeps you on the edge of your toes. Like, they're so sweet. They're the best characters. You fall in love. They're such comfort reads. They're amazing. Can't stop talking all this good stuff about them. Also, though, I have not read all of Mariana Zapata's books. I'm not sure how many she has. I think like a lot, like 12, 15. I don't know. But I've not read, honestly, kind of most of them because I read like 6 or something, and then I was like, I need to slow down. I can't read them all at once. Like, I need to savor these because I enjoy like basically all of them. So I kind of stopped reading them, and then I did read Under Lock this year, and that was my first one I read for I think like over a year. So I still do not have, I know a popular one is Wait for It. I've not read it yet. So maybe my opinions will change. I do love The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. That's probably my second favorite. But Colty, I don't know. It just does something for me. It just, I don't even get why. I love Colty. He's so great. I love that book. It makes me so happy every time I read it. It is such a comfort read. It just is one of those books that just like, when I was reading it, I was just like, yeah, like this is just doing it for me. It was had me kicking my feet, had me happy. So that is my favorite Mariana Zapata book. And I feel like most of you guys knew that because I talk about it all the time. Okay, next question is a book with a trope you normally hate but you really liked. And this was perfect because I just had this experience. And my answer is King of Greed by Anna Huang. And it is second chance romance trope. And I hate second chance romance. It boils my blood. I don't know why. I think it's because the falling in love is like my favorite part. Obviously they're romance books. That's like everyone's favorite part, but like that's what I want to watch and read. And I feel like when it's a second chance romance, a lot of the times we're playing catch up as the reader. And not that I dislike that in totality, but like I just feel like a lot of times they just don't do it for me. Like, 'cause there's not, the tension doesn't feel as good because the tension's more based in like, because it's more of like an enemies to lovers vibe, but it's not the enemies part. Like if you know what I mean. I don't know. Other people love it. It's just not for me. But King of Greed was so good. It had me kicking my feet. It had me so excited. I loved it so much, and I was really surprised because I was really hesitant to even read it because I was like, oh, second chance romance, I don't know. But I was kind of excited. She hyped up their couple like really well in the other books, and I'm so glad I read it because it was definitely worth it. Okay, next question is your biggest ick in romance novels. In Steph and Larry's videos, they had a lot of good points of like shirtless men on covers. Why do we have them? They shouldn't exist. Young characters that are supposed to be like 3 years old and they're like giving you advice and like talking like an actual adult and like smarter than everyone else in the room. Doesn't make any sense. It's so annoying. I hate second chance romance, as I have just said. I don't like those. Um, Another ick for me, age gaps. I just don't get why they're in so many, and honestly, most of the time they're just like not needed. Like I know sometimes they're like a part of the story, like I'm thinking about like Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas for like an extreme example or something. Like that has to be an age gap. I understand that. But sometimes I'm like, there's no reason. Like they could have just been the same age and you just made it an age gap, and that gives me the ick because why? Why? And I just pretend that they are the same age because I don't like the age gap. So that's a big ick for me. Ooh, this might be kind of an unpopular opinion, but I do not like duet books of the same character. Now hear me out. What I mean by that is like I love when it's like a friend group or whatever and each like couple has their own book, but you kind of tend to lose me when it's one couple that has like two or more books. Or even if it's just a standalone series, like The Confidence of Wildflowers or whatever, that has like two books about the same couple. And why I say this is because I just never get it. Or not, I shouldn't say I never get it, but like most of the time it could have just been one book, and I feel like I don't really understand why they made it two books. Or if I understand why they made it two books, it's just it's too much strife on the couple. I don't like that. I don't like when they get together or they've been together and then there's just something else blows it up and they have another issue and then they can fix it and they get back together and then something else happens, or like I just it I don't like it. It makes me upset and sad, and I also feel like it's somewhat unrealistic of like if you're having that many issues in your relationship, I don't know if you guys are meant to be like huge issues, not just like oh slight miscommunication or something. They're like huge issues. So I don't know. They're not my favorite. And a lot of times when it's a book duet, I kind of tend to skip it. This one is a book the other likes that you don't, but obviously I have no one else in the room with me. And unfortunately, I cannot ask and talk to Steph and Larissa. So I'm just going to do a book that's like very popular that I don't really like. And there's a few. There are a few. But the first that comes to my mind is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel, I believe. I hated that book, and I read it kind of, I mean, I don't be like before everyone else, but like I read it and like I hadn't really heard any like discourse around it. I don't even know where I found it. I hated it. It is a second chance romance, so that might be part of the reason why I hated it, but I did not like it. I like powered through it. It was like not something I liked at all. And then like a couple months later, I saw so many people talking about it and so many people being obsessed with it, and I was like, are we talking about the same book? And then I looked at it and I was like, this is the same book. And I mean, I don't want to be a hater. If you like a book that I don't like, that's fine. I don't care. But I was just kind of surprised because I really, really disliked it. And then it was like really blowing up on TikTok and really popular. So that's definitely one. Another one that, because I'm a big fan, I know that Steph really likes this book, and I tried reading it actually because of Steph, is In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, I believe. I DNF'd that book. I could not finish it. I don't know why I disliked it. It just like, sometimes you just start reading a book and you dislike it and you can't get through it. And for some reason, In a Jam was that for me. I did not like it. Next is comfort reads, which this was like the easiest question for me because obviously it's like the books I reach for all the time. Very easy. Redeemed, Lauren Asher. Probably my number one. I love that book. I reread it all the time. It makes me so happy. It makes me feel so comforted. I literally made a wish journal like her in the book, and it's so cool and so fun, and it makes me feel connected to the characters. I love it. Also, Culty by Mariana Zapata, as I've already talked about. I love that book. It's so nice and fun. Also, In 27 Days by Alison Gervais. I originally read that book on Wattpad and absolutely fell in love with it. It was so good. I enjoyed it so much. And then I read the book like a year later or something like that. And while I do probably prefer the Wattpad version, both versions are so amazing and I never hear anyone talking about it, and it deserves all the hype, and it's such a comfort read. It's more of like a YA, which I think is why it gives me so much comfort, but still I love it so much. And on the same train as YA, Tell Me Three Things by Julie Baum, I think is how you say her name. It is amazing. It gives me such butterflies. I love the characters. It's such a comfort read. It's the first like romance novel that I became like obsessed with, and it's probably the book I've read the most. It is YA, but it's so good, and I still think worth the read. But I love that book. It's probably my favorite comfort read. Okay, this next one is Three of Your Book Boyfriends, which this changes for me over the course of time just because I changed them to the books I've read more recently that I've enjoyed. But one that stays consistent is Santiago from Redeemed by Lauren Asher. Love him and Chloe, love everything about it. Such a fan of Santi, love it. And then I think I'm gonna do Oakley from Broken Kingdom by A. Jade. It's in the Royal Hearts Academy series. He's just like, I don't know. I think he's the type of book boyfriend that I like completely fall for every time. I'm just like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. And so this was no exception. He captured my heart and I loved him and I love that book and it's so good. I love it. It's so good. And then the last, I'm gonna say Clay from The Blind Side by Candy Steiner in the Red Zone Rivals. He was just so, I don't know, he just hit that mix of like confident but super sweet, but like reformed, like I don't know, like protective but not like creepy. Like I don't know, he just hit all the marks and it was a very fun read and I loved it. And that's like those are my top three right now. I don't know. Okay, the next question is you are traveling with the world with, oh my god. The next question is, you are traveling the world, which two characters from a book are you taking? Which, I honestly had to think about this a little. The first one that came to my mind was Taylor from The Dare by Elle Kennedy, which is the last book in the Briar U series. I love Taylor. I love Taylor and Connor. Connor was also one of my favorite book boyfriends for a while. I think this book is underhyped. People don't talk about it in the L. Kennedy universe, the off-campus Briar U universe. I think they really hate this book, but I love this book, so I would take Taylor because I feel like she'd be a really fun time and just like a loyal, supportive friend, but also she's smart, so I feel like if we got like some issues, like, because abroad traveling is hard and you need to be able to like deal with things sometimes that come at you, so I think she would be a good person to like help. Okay, I literally just looked through a bunch of my past reads, and this has me so excited. I feel like this is such a good answer. The other person I would take is Seraphina from Twisted Pride by Cora Riley, part of the Kimura Chronicles. I love Seraphina. She's like one of my favorite girl characters maybe. She's just so fun. I don't know why. I just feel like we would be besties. And again, I feel like she's very smart, very capable. I think her, Taylor, and I would also get along really well. So I feel like it would be a great group and like a great dynamic. So I think that would really slay. Where we would go, that's not part of the question, but I'm adding it on right now just because I kind of want to. I'm gonna say we would go to like maybe like Thailand. I feel like that would be really fun and I want to go there. So I'm going to say we would go to Thailand, Taylor, Seraphina, and I, and that would be amazing and we'd have the best time ever. The next question is, what book got you into reading? Which I love this question because I've always been a really avid reader, like honestly, like my whole life. When I was a kid, I loved Geronimo Stilton, read those books all the time. Then when I was a little older, it was the Shadow Children series by Margaret Peterson Haddix, or literally just like anything Margaret Peterson Haddix wrote. Then that shifted to like the Hunger Games and the Divergent series. And I really just was always a very avid reader. My parents really instilled it in me in a young age, and I loved reading. We were always allowed to read before bed, and I loved it. But I think the first, when I started like kind of transitioning to romance novels, there's a couple of answers I would kind of give here. The first is the book, The Beginning of Everything. I read that book, and it's a romance book, and I hated it. I hated it so much. It was so bad. I hated it. I literally don't know what else to say. It was such an awful book. But then after that book, I feel like I got recommendations on my Kindle that then led me to like books ended up really liking. And so I think I kind of say that book, even though I hated it, it kind of like led me to other books that I ended up loving. And then I'll also say like the Selection series. Um, I love that series. I know some people hate it and some people don't like it, but I loved that series and I thought it was such a cool idea and so fun. I was obsessed with Maxon. Oh my God, I almost said Mason. That's like devastating. Like 14-year-old me's crying. Okay, whoa, Maxon. I loved Maxon so much and love Maxon in America. I was obsessed with that series. I've reread it probably 10 times. I don't even know. Like that's probably another comfort read, that entire series. I love that series so much. And the like spin-off series of like their daughter later. I love that series too. So I think that's like my actual answer of like that was my first romance series that I loved that like really got me into romance. But The Beginning of Everything technically was like what got me into it. Also, I did read Harry Styles fan fictions as a child, and I do not think that should be overlooked of affecting my reading styles now in a way of I just being like they were romance novels and a lot of them like kind of like darker romance things and I still love dark romance like a lot now. Um and I think that kind of affected my choices later in life, which is kind of interesting to think about, but I also was reading romance from the age of 10, 11, I don't know, something like that. So, I don't know. The next question is thoughts on prologues and epilogues. Um, I like them. Prologues, I feel like are just so different because that's usually just like actually used to like showcase the story and like give context to the beginning of the story. So I think it's used in romance novels more in its literary purpose, I think you could say. The one prologue that's like jumps out of my mind that I hated though was the one for the Kings of Rittenhouse series. There's the first one is a prologue and it's called the Kings of Rittenhouse series, or like not series, Kings of Rittenhouse. And I hated that. It was hard to get through. I didn't know why it existed. It angered me. I don't know why. I talked about it in my video I made about that book series. But I don't like that prologue, but any other prologue I honestly like don't even notice. Like I don't know, it just like leads up to the story. Epilogues, I know I love epilogues. I love epilogues. I know it's maybe an unpopular opinion because a lot of times they're boring and they're like the same thing of like they end up happily ever after and it's like them getting engaged or getting married or having a kid or like doing whatever. But I'm just such a sucker for it. I love, 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 and I love happy endings. So I love being able to see that. And I'm definitely one of those people who like, I don't necessarily want the book to stop right when they get together and they have a happy ending. I'm perfectly fine with like a couple chapters of like them being happy and having a good life. So I love epilogues. I eat them up almost every time. There are a few exceptions of like epilogues that shouldn't have existed or add nothing or are so boring. Don't get me wrong, but I am usually a pretty big fan of epilogues. I'm usually excited when I see that there's an epilogue to a book because how could you not be? Like that's such an exciting thing to see and it just, I don't know, it just makes me happy every time. If you could only read one trope for the rest of your life, what trope would it be? This is very hard. I think I'm going to pick sports romance, even though that's not necessarily my favorite trope. If that is that a trope? I'm counting that as a trope, whatever. My favorite trope probably ever is Grumpy Sunshine, but I just don't think there's enough good Grumpy Sunshines. I'm going to be honest. So, sports romances rank pretty close next. I mean, technically if we're doing like my trope rankings, it would be like Grumpy Sunshine and then it would be like bands or like musicians, and especially if they're on tour you get bonus points, and then it would be sports romances. But again, I don't think there's enough books about musicians or bands that could sustain me. I would not have enough books to live off of. So I'm going to pick sports romances because it's in my top 3 and I would have a plethora of choice. There's so many sports romances out there and so many good sports romances. So I think I would not be starved for content. My next answer after that I was thinking about was maybe Mafia, but I think that'd be too intense. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love reading Mafia books and I can read a lot of Mafia books like back to back to back. But if it was the only thing I was reading, I think I would kind of be missing out on like a great subsector of the romance genre that is not dark romance. But let's just say it was in my mind when I was thinking about the answer to this question. The next question is, if you had to cast yourself as a book character for a movie adaptation, who would it be and why? This question was my favorite because if you don't know, I'm an actor, and two of my greatest loves ever are books and movies and slash acting. So this is like the perfect question for me, and it also made me nervous because I could say so many people. Like, I want to play so many characters. But the ones that come to my mind, the first one forever and always will be America from the Selection series. I love that series. As I've said, it was like one of my first series growing up that I loved. When I read it as a child, I was like, this is so me. Like, I want to be her. On the same line of like books I've always wanted to be the main character in, that would like absolutely make my heart sing, is the Gallagher Girls series. The main character, is her name Cammy? Because that's what it's saying on Goodreads, but I'm like, is that right? I don't remember it being Cammy, but whatever her name is, the Gallagher Girls main character. I love that series, ate it up. I also think that would just be a fun series in general, like the spies. It would be very fun, so look into that. Um, but another one that I think is actually like my now current answer more, that I think would be a really good series and I think would be successful if done well in a TV show, not a movie. But I would be Grace from the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. I like never see anyone ever talking about this book series. To be honest, I haven't finished it. I was obsessed with it. I read the first 4 books like back to back to back, and then the last book was not out yet and it wasn't coming out for like a year, and then by the time it did come out, it's such one of those series where it's like an involved series, so I felt like I had to go back and reread the first one, and then I just never went around to it, and I need to do it, and it's reminding me to do this now because I loved especially the second book. But I think that series would be so fun. It is like science fiction. There are like vampires and werewolves and dragons. So I think that would be a really fun element. And then it has a really fun romance element. And I love Hudson. Hudson was another one of my book boyfriends for so long. So I think that would be like my ultimate answer right now. That would be amazing. But any of them, any book where I fit the kid, like I fit the physical look of the girl, even not really, but I just mean like she's white, and then I'm there. I'll do anything. That sounds so fun, so amazing. I love books so much. I would be so honored to be in any movie or TV adaptation of any romance book or just any book in general. Because I know it's, like I said, it's like two things I love most in this world, and it would be so near and dear to my heart to be involved in a project like that like has so many fans and is important to so many people. So I'm geeking out right now, but that question was just so fun to me because it was like, anyone, anything, I will do anything. Please hire me, Hollywood. I will be your star in whatever, and all of the book people will love me because I'm a great actor and I know how they think, kind of. So anyways, but yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there, I think, because I think that's enough questions of you sitting here and watching me just answer questions alone to a video of answering questions alone from a video where people were talking together and collabing and having fun together. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great day today. You are beautiful, lovely, wonderful, smart, adventurous, kind, and exactly who you're meant to be. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.